The Mitchell family Thanksgiving was exactly what you'd expect from a dynasty of traditional finance: crystal glasses filled with expensive wine, conversations about market trends, and endless mockery of anything they didn't understand. Especially cryptocurrency. Still throwing money away on Bitcoin? My brother James smirked from across the mahogany dining table, adjusting his Rolex. Or is it those monkey pictures now? I took a small sip of water, thinking about the crypto investment firm I'd built over the past 5 years, Sterling Digital Assets. The same company that now controlled enough of Mitchell Financial's debt to force a takeover. Something like that, I replied quietly. Emma, darling, my mother interjected, ever eager to change the subject when it came to my investment choices. Did you hear about James's promotion? Senior Vice President at Mitchell Financial. Following right in your father's footsteps. I glanced at my father, CEO of Mitchell Financial, as he beamed with pride at his son and heir apparent. Neither of them knew their company was weeks away from collapse, or that my waste of money would soon own everything they'd built. That's wonderful, James, I said, cutting into my turkey. You know, my sister-in-law Katherine leaned forward, diamonds glittering at her throat. If you're still interested in real finance, I'm sure James could find you a position. Something entry-level, of course. I thought about my corner office overlooking Central Park, where tomorrow morning I would finalize the paperwork to acquire Mitchell Financial. The same paperwork they'd been too proud to read carefully when they desperately needed emergency funding last quarter. Thanks, but I'm comfortable where I am. Comfortable? My father's voice boomed from the head of the table. Emma, you're 32 years old. When are you going to stop playing around with these internet coins and do something serious with your life? I suppressed a smile, remembering how Sterling Digital's internet coins had quietly purchased Mitchell Financial's distressed debt through a series of shell companies. My family was so convinced of their financial superiority that they hadn't even bothered to investigate their mysterious new creditor. I'm doing fine, Dad. Fine isn't good enough for a Mitchell, he declared, swirling his scotch. This family has been in traditional finance for 3 generations. We build real wealth, not these digital pyramid schemes you waste time on. My phone buzzed, a message from Marcus, my COO. Final acquisition papers ready. Board votes at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Mitchell Financial's management has no idea what's coming. At least try to understand what Emma's interested in. My mother attempted diplomacy. What exactly is it you do with these cryptocurrencies? Before I could answer, James laughed. She buys magic internet money and hopes it goes up. Real sophisticated, Mom. If they only knew that Sterling Digital had evolved far beyond cryptocurrency trading. We were now one of the largest digital asset investment firms in the country, with a specialty in acquiring and restructuring traditional financial institutions that had failed to adapt to the changing market. It's a bit more complicated than that, I said mildly. Oh please, Katherine rolled her eyes. James manages billions in real assets. You collect digital beanie babies. I thought about Sterling Digital's current assets under management, over $50 billion. More than Mitchell Financial had ever controlled in its best years. But they'd never bothered to look beyond their preconceptions long enough to see what I was building. How much have you lost this year? James pressed, clearly enjoying himself. Bitcoin's down what, 60% from its highs? Actually, I took another sip of water. This has been our best year yet. Our. My father's eyebrows rose. Don't tell me you've convinced other people to throw money away with you? If he only knew about our institutional investors, our global client base, our strategic acquisitions. Sterling Digital had grown far beyond its crypto trading roots, but the Mitchells were too busy laughing at headlines about NFTs to notice. We have a few investors, I said quietly. Well, my father declared, when this crypto bubble finally bursts, remember that there's always a place for you at Mitchell Financial. Entry level, of course. Need to learn the basics of real finance. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. Stock transfer complete. We now control 78% of Mitchell Financial's outstanding shares. Legal team confirms we can force management changes effective immediately. Speaking of Mitchell Financial, I ventured carefully. How's the expansion going? James's smile faltered slightly. He knew, even if our parents didn't, how badly the company was struggling. Their attempted expansion into Asian markets had been a disaster. Their traditional investment strategies were bleeding clients to more tech-savvy competitors. Perfectly on track, he lied smoothly. We're positioned for our best quarter yet. I nodded, thinking about the real numbers I'd seen. Mitchell Financial was weeks away from potential bankruptcy. Their stock had dropped 70% in the past year. Major clients were jumping ship daily. That's not what I heard, I said softly. James's head snapped up. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I smiled. Just market rumors. The conversation shifted to safer topics. James's new summer house, Katherine's charity foundation, my father's golf game. But I could see the tension in James's shoulders. He knew how precarious Mitchell Financial's position was, even if he'd never admit it. Did you see the news about Morgan Stanley moving into crypto? I asked innocently. Seems like traditional finance is finally catching up. Trendy nonsense, my father dismissed. Real financial institutions don't need gimmicks. I thought about the presentation sitting in my briefcase, the one I'd deliver to Mitchell Financial's board tomorrow morning. The one explaining how their refusal to adapt to digital assets had left them vulnerable to exactly this type of takeover. Times are changing, Dad. The fundamentals of finance never change, he declared confidently. That's why Mitchell Financial has survived for 3 generations. We stick to what works. My mother, sensing dangerous waters, quickly changed the subject. Emma, dear, have you met Katherine's brother Michael? He's a successful hedge fund manager and single. Mom, I cut her off gently, I'm not interested. But darling, you need to think about your future. You can't keep gambling on this crypto nonsense forever. You need stability, connections. I thought about my multiple homes, my private jet, and the fact that by this time tomorrow, I'd own the company they thought represented stability. Trust me, I said quietly, my future is secure. As dinner wound down, the conversation returned to its favorite theme, mocking my career choices. Did you hear about that crypto exchange that collapsed? James asked the table at large. Lost billions of other people's money. That's what happens when you trust internet funny money instead of real financial institutions. Like Mitchell Financial? I asked innocently. Exactly, my father nodded. Rock solid. Built on generations of experience and traditional values. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from our PR team. Press release ready for tomorrow's announcement. Sterling Digital Assets acquires Mitchell Financial in historic takeover. Quotes from board members confirmed. You know, Emma. James leaned back in his chair, completely at ease in his supposed superiority. If you ever want to learn how real finance works, just let me know. I'm sure we could find something suitable for your experience level. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Actually, I have an early meeting tomorrow. Something about an acquisition. Oh. Katherine's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. Buying more of those digital monkey pictures? Something like that, I smiled. Much bigger than monkeys this time. Well, my father raised his scotch glass. Here's hoping you don't lose too much money on whatever it is. If he only knew that by this time tomorrow he'd be out of a job, his company would belong to me, and his precious, traditional finance empire would be run by his crypto investing daughter. Don't worry, Dad, I said, picking up my bag. I think this investment will work out just fine. As I walked to my car, I could hear them laughing through the dining room windows, probably sharing more jokes about Bitcoin and NFTs. Let them laugh. In less than 12 hours, they'd learn exactly what my little investment had grown into. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's letting them discover how wrong they've been all by themselves. And tomorrow would be quite a discovery indeed. The next morning, I arrived at Mitchell Financial's headquarters an hour early. Not through the main entrance where James made his daily power walks, past admiring employees, but through my own private elevator in the building next door. The one Sterling Digital had purchased 6 months ago. Ms. Mitchell, Marcus greeted me, tablet in hand. The board members are assembled. Your family just arrived. I smiled, adjusting my Chanel suit, one that cost more than Katherine's entire wardrobe. And the press. CNBC is set up in the lobby. Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal are standing by. Everyone's wondering why Mitchell Financial called an emergency board meeting. Through the window, I watched my father's Bentley pull up to the curb. He and James emerged, both wearing identical power suits and concerned expressions. They knew something was wrong, they just didn't know what. Final confirmation? I asked Marcus. Stock transfer complete. Voting rights secured. Legal team standing by. He paused, smiling slightly. And yes, we made sure the crypto market headlines are displaying on every screen in their lobby. Perfect. Let them walk past one last reminder of what they'd dismissed for so long. At exactly 8:55 a.m., I made my way through the connecting bridge between the buildings. The security guard, now employed by Sterling Digital, nodded respectfully as I passed. The Mitchell Financial boardroom was exactly what you'd expect. All dark wood and leather chairs, old money trying desperately to look permanent. Through the glass walls, I could see my father at the head of the table, attempting to project confidence as the board members whispered among themselves. James paced nervously near the window, checking his phone every few seconds. He knew how bad things were: the failed expansion, the fleeing clients, the mounting debt. He just didn't know who really owned that debt. At precisely 9 a.m. I pushed open the boardroom doors. The room fell silent. My father's face went from confusion to shock to anger in the span of seconds. James froze mid-pace, his mouth hanging open. "Emma?" My father found his voice first. "What are you doing here? This is a private board meeting." "I know," I said calmly, walking to the opposite end of the table. "That's why I called it." "You called it?" James sputtered. "What are you talking about?" I opened my briefcase, removing a thick folder. Sterling Digital Assets now controls 78% of Mitchell Financial's shares and voting rights. As majority owner, I'm hereby calling this emergency board meeting to order. The color drained from my father's face. "Sterling Digital, that's the firm that bought our debt." "High firm," I corrected gently. "The same one you've been mocking for years. Funny how cryptocurrency can buy quite a lot of real, financial assets when properly leveraged." "This is impossible." James slammed his hand on the table. "You trade Bitcoin and monkey JBGs." I nodded to Marcus, who began distributing documents to each board member. "Actually, Sterling Digital evolved beyond crypto trading years ago. We now specialize in acquiring and restructuring traditional financial institutions that failed to adapt to the digital age. Companies exactly like Mitchell Financial." "You can't do this," my father's voice shook. "This company has been in our family for 3 generations. And now it still is," I smiled. "Just under different management." The board members were already reviewing the documents, their expressions shifting from shock to understanding. They'd watched Mitchell Financial's decline under my father's stubborn leadership. Many had quietly supported this takeover when Sterling Digital approached them. "As you can see," I continued, pulling up the presentation screen, "Mitchell Financial's performance has deteriorated significantly over the past 5 years. Refused to adapt to digital assets, ignored changing market conditions, relied on outdated investment strategies." "We were protecting our clients," my father protested. "Your clients are leaving," I countered. "Your stock has dropped 70% in 12 months. Major accounts are closing daily. Face it, Dad, your traditional values are killing this company." James stepped forward, desperation in his eyes. "The board won't support this. We're Mitchell Financial." "The board already has supported it," I nodded to the chairman. "Shall we take a vote to confirm the new management structure?" The vote was quick and decisive. By 9:30 a.m., my father and James had been removed from their positions. By 9:45, security was escorting them to clear out their offices. "You can't do this to your own family," my father said as he stood to leave, his voice breaking slightly. "Family?" I laughed softly. "Was I family when you mocked my career choices? When you dismissed everything I built? When you spent years telling everyone what a disappointment I was?" "We were trying to protect you," James insisted. "No," I corrected him. "You were protecting your own egos. Too proud to admit that finance was changing, too arrogant to see that your little sister might understand the future better than you did." As they left, I could see the news already spreading through the office. Employees gathered in clusters, whispering and checking their phones as headlines broke. Sterling Digital acquires Mitchell Financial in surprise takeover. Crypto investment firm takes control of traditional finance giant. Mitchell family ousted from own company by founder's daughter. Within an hour, my mother and Katherine arrived, demanding explanations. They found me in my father's old office. My office now, already meeting with the transition team. Emma, my mother's voice quivered. How could you do this? To your own family? The same way you did it to me, I replied calmly. By deciding what was best for the company's future. But what will people say? Katherine pressed her hand to her throat, her diamonds trembling. The social embarrassment. They'll say that Mitchell Financial is finally joining the 21st century. That we're adapting to survive. That the next generation is taking control. Over the next few weeks, the changes were swift and dramatic. Mitchell Financial's stock surged as we announced new digital asset initiatives. Major clients who had been considering leaving decided to stay. Young talent, attracted by our new direction, flooded in with fresh ideas. James tried to fight back, of course. He attempted to rally other family members, tried to challenge the takeover in court. But the paperwork was perfect, the board's support unanimous. He finally accepted a minor position in our new digital assets division, reporting to people who actually understood cryptocurrency. My father took longer to break. He made speeches about tradition and family loyalty, tried to shame me in the financial press. But as Mitchell Financial's performance improved under my leadership, his voice grew quieter. 1 year later, I hosted a company-wide celebration in our renovated headquarters. The old dark wood and leather had been replaced with light, modern designs. Screens showing crypto prices and digital asset trends lined the walls where oil paintings of past Mitchell patriarchs once hung. My family attended, of course, though they seemed smaller somehow. Less intimidating in the space I'd created. They watched from the sidelines as I gave the keynote speech, detailing our successful integration of traditional and digital finance. They listened as industry leaders praised our innovation. They smiled stiffly as photographers captured the moment the crypto-investing daughter saved the family legacy. Standing at the podium looking out over the crowd, I thought about how far I'd come. Not just in terms of success or wealth, but in understanding my own worth. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right. They'd mocked my investment choices, but I'd built something extraordinary. They'd dismissed my vision, but I'd seen the future more clearly than they ever had. And most importantly, I'd learned that the best revenge isn't showing others what they lost. It's showing yourself what you can gain when you stop seeking their approval. The view from the top isn't about looking down on others. It's about finally seeing clearly just how far you've climbed. As I concluded my speech, watching our company's new logo glow against the New York skyline, I knew I'd done more than just take over Mitchell Financial. I'd transformed it into something better than it had ever been. Not bad for someone who wasted money on crypto. After all, that waste of money now signs their paychecks.